Hey guys, and welcome to another Stock Talk. Today is April 12th at 4:06 p.m. Eastern Time. So let's take a look at SPY, which is the S&P 500 ETF on the 180-day chart. And here it is. I've already zoomed it in for you guys. So yesterday in the video, I talked about how today or tomorrow were going to be decision days. Why? It was because we identified a resistance around 266.90 with an uptrend ascending slanted triangle pattern. We're making higher lows at that point. And because we're getting squeezed in so tight between these two lines, we were going to see a break up or break down. So today, we in fact did see the stocks go up, the markets go up 293 points. And the Dow, taking a look at today, tested the resistance several times. The SPY, the S&P did the same thing. So let's take a look at the 1 minute chart. I was monitoring this all day, and I don't know about you guys, but it was like a war. It's like them throwing a punch and them throwing a punch. And in the end, no one won. Like, just people threw punches back and forth, and in the end, it was like a white flag stalemate. So I don't know if you guys felt like that, but while I was watching the chart, I felt like that. Here's the daily chart. What do we see? So this resistance line at around 266.80 or 90, this was there for a long time, right? Since maybe a couple weeks already. But these resistance lines I drew in intraday because we were having a hard time breaking above this line initially, then we had a hard time breaking above this line, and then we had a hard time breaking above this line. So I was monitoring, it was going up and down, and yesterday I said the best way to trade in these environments is what? To do day trades, right? Playing between the bottom VWAP and the top VWAP. Because the chance for you to get a profit is considerably greater if you buy in at the bottom VWAP, contrary to popular thinking where you're supposed to, when it's going uptrend, then you got to buy in, right? So when it's near the bottom VWAP, you should try to think about buying in, and when it gets to the top, that's the time to sell. So you guys may be monitoring this as well today. And what exactly happened? Well, we had some major sell-off at 1 p.m. around after 1 p.m. Eastern time. Now, remember last time I said that at 1 p.m. Eastern time, a new candle on the 4-hour 180-day chart will form. And this is when people love to move the markets. It's not necessarily that they're coming back from lunchtime, but they want to move the markets to establish the top wicks and the bottom wicks of the candle. So you guys can see that at the time, I wasn't so worried about this drop. This drop, not too worried about it because, okay, let's think about this logically, right? 1 o'clock, there's a huge move down to the bottom VWAP. What am I thinking in the long term? The 4-hour candle is not established yet, right? And you can imagine if the wick pulls all the way down and then the SPY recovered all the way back up, what do you think would have happened? We would have closed in the green. So let me just give you guys that scenario once again and show you guys on the 180-day chart what I'm talking about. So here's the candle, right? If 1 o'clock starts right here, and it did, and it pulled all the way down, and then it managed to pull up back to this start price, right? The 1 o'clock start price. What would have that told you? That's a very bullish sign, right? And that serves as a possibility that tomorrow we may actually pull above the resistance. But it didn't do that. As a matter of fact, as of now, the candle is still forming. In my opinion, like, the markets are in agony. They are getting scrunched up and they don't know what to do because the institutional traders are having these algorithms they're manipulating and they're not sure what to do. And therefore, the markets have been going extremely volatile even today. So we did see it come down to the bottom VWAP only to come back up at this point. And I was watching, like you guys, very closely at the break above 266.90. And yes, we did a break above, but we always need to have a confirmation, especially in this volatile environment, if this is a false breakout. Why? because markets love to trick you. When everyone thinks that something will happen, for example, SPY is going to drop to 256, the market really want to test your patience and see if you will sell at the wrong spot. If they give you a false breakout, they're going to see if you're going to bite onto it. So if at this point you did end up buying into SPY or some other ETF, that's a huge no-no at this point, because it's overbought. That's number one. And you don't know if this is a false breakout, because remember, it has to test the support several times, especially in this environment, before we can effectively say that we have crossed the resistance. So in fact, we did come down, and then we had a sell-off, a pretty major sell-off, and then we're back to around 266 territory. Now, do we kind of imagine this as any different scenario? I really don't. So the only way I feel like you might be manipulated in this environment, and a lot of people, I believe, fall into this trap, maybe even me, is believing that the intraday patterns will eventually tell a huge story when to buy in today. Aside from buying in on the bottom VWAP and then selling near the top, there's really no patterns that you should be investing in my opinion, because there's no set pattern. Yes, look, we had this, I even drew this line intraday. We had higher lows at this point, but does that mean anything? It just means that at some point we're going to get to a decision point, and it's going to go up or it's going to come back down. And it went up and then it came down below this line. So this line, basically this upward slanted line, meant nothing, right? So in this environment, it is just hard to play in this environment, okay? And the only way to play is to play when the markets think you're not going to buy. That's when you buy. All right. So the markets at this point think, oh my gosh, you're very fearful that's going to go to 256. That's when you buy at the bottom VWAP. And we might see something very similar tomorrow. Now, keep in mind that tomorrow the bank earnings start coming out, and people have high expectations that we're going to start beating earnings, right? Earning seasons are coming up. So again, we have some uncertainty, but SPY could break that resistance, whether it's overnight on the futures or whether it's tomorrow during day trade or pre-market. That is not for certain. So let's take a look at the long-term trend, okay? So let's go by facts once again. Our analysis for SPY in the markets yesterday was that yes, there's a potential to test the resistance, and we had two converging SMA lines that are acting as big resistance points. So because the markets did test the top around like 4 times, and it even tried to get to the top, I'm more likely to be inclined to say that it have a possibility, because we are near the upper end of the resistance, that there's a possibility that we might break above tomorrow and test possibly these two EMA lines, right, or SMA lines that are coming in around 268.46. That would be the first major resistance, should it cross and establish a new support around 267. Okay, that's a big if. Now, if it doesn't, and one thing I'm also looking out for is there should be some sort of news that came out. Really, there's no new news that came out, so the markets just kind of fluctuated back and forth today, not knowing what to do. If there was some catalyst tomorrow, a negative news, maybe war on Syria or whatever, right, then it'll bring it down below this point. And once it goes below this point, you know that it might start heading to a big correction at that point. Another retest of the low. But if there's just good earnings kind of flowing out and the news is just propagating as we expected, we might see a slow break above the resistance line tomorrow. So what can you do? So in my opinion, why play the market right now? Right? It's a 50-50 shot that it's going to go up or down. So just, in my opinion, stay on the side, let the market do the battles. You drink a cup of tea or something, and then when it actually confirms the specific trend, then buy in and then sell as a day trade, right? When it confirms that trend, then go in. At this time, there's no confirmation, and we're expecting another volatile day. So let me tell you guys where I bought in. So I did buy in. See, so this is where I get caught up in the emotions as well, even though I'm doing this myself, right? It's kind of hard. When there was a 1 o'clock sell-off, I got sucked into believing that, Okay, we're beginning the correction back to the low. So at this time, I actually bought into TVIX. So taking a look at TVIX, it's currently $9.34. We're at a pretty low point. Actually, it's $9.20, $9.32 or $9.29. We're at a pretty low point. And I bought in upon this spike. So I was bought in at $9.50 right here. So pretty high off. Of course, there was a major sell-off. Am I going to sell off now? I don't think so, because let's take a look at that 180-day chart on TVIX, which tracks volatility. Right, we're pretty much at a support point. So if I did this line that goes from this way to this way, that's the support point, right? Why should I sell now? Now, if it does cross below the support point and possibly below these SMA lines, then yeah, I might consider selling it. But there's really no point because my reward is high, my risk is pretty small at this point. Yes, if this is playing the market, yes, I did say it's 50-50, but once again, I feel comfortable in taking that position, so I'm in it. So this is on my Robinhood account. And one other ETF I want to talk about, which is DRIP. DRIP is inverse oil and gas, so when it's bearish, DRIP goes up. A couple things to talk about here. Yesterday, we talked about this major drop, right, down here, and that it broke below its support. And I still strongly believe that it broke below its support. So I'm not going to adjust any of these trend lines yet because I feel like I have these trend lines in pretty good areas. And I'm also seeing the same thing where DRIP is having a hard time retesting this new resistance point. Right, guys? So, like, even intraday today, I was expecting for it to go higher to possibly 1090 to retest the resistance, and it didn't. So I kept DRIP because, once again, my logic is that we are still oversold and there's a potential for DRIP to recover. Now, did DRIP recover? Yes, 0.5%, which is literally nothing because I didn't buy in for too many shares. So I might have gotten like $15 back today. Right, it doesn't really matter, 0.5%. But let's just take a look at /CL because this was another trend I was monitoring all morning long because we knew. I hope you knew. Let's take a look at 180 days first. You guys could have seen that the resistance for /CL, which tracks crude oil futures, was at around $66.30, right? And yesterday, I said that there was a break above and we ended on the note of formation of this red candle. And I said this red candle is really good for people who are bulls for Gush, which tracks oil, right? Which moves with oil. Because it's holding above the resistance line. So today I was monitoring because we did in fact see a big red candle, a sell-off, and then we had another sell-off back to the, what? The new support area, right? And what exactly happened? You guys can see that the support area actually held. Now, you guys might be wondering, well, why are you in DRIP? This is, once again, this goes back to the fact that we are still oversold on DRIP. So here is /CL, and this was morning, right? Here, right here, this was morning time. And then we had market open around here, market open, and we had a huge, and then we started coming down. Right. So here's market open. Sorry. So and then we started coming down below the support point. So some people might have gotten fooled and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is the time to buy into DRIP." And DRIP at that time was at $10.70 at its peak. So once again, in this volatile environment, please be very careful as to find the confirmation first before you buy. This downtrend is not necessarily a confirmation because we still want to see a retest of this. If this is in fact a resistance line now, we have to see a retest of the resistance. You can see that when we retested the resistance, yes, it bounced off once down here, but then when it tested it again, it went back up. That's not actually a resistance. That's just called a break under the support before it kind of came back up. So we in fact held above the support point on crude oil. So people who are in Gush, I think you are in a good place, even though Gush is there. But I'm still, so So you guys, might be asking like, why am I in it, right? So I still see potential in /CL to come down, right? Here's /CL. Yes, again, it can be going up, and this can be still saying like this is overextended a little bit. This could still potentially be a false break above the resistance. So there's a potential for it to come down, and if it does come down, drip will go quickly very high, right? So that's the thing that I'm looking at today. Another possibility, that I was going to talk about is JDST, which is inverse gold or tracks the US dollar. It's an ETF. It follows the inverse of /GC, which is gold futures. So on the 180-day chart, we talked about this yesterday, where, let me just remove this line right here because it's not applicable. We saw that there was a descending pattern. And we said that if we saw a bounce today, right, with JDST, we're at the support. Even though we're in descending trend, we're at a support. This is the time to buy because we can play off the support because it's bouncing as expected. And in fact, today JDST went up 4.44%. So whoever took advantage of this position, very nice. So where can you guys sell? I mean, look at this green line, right? The green line is the 150 simple moving average, which has acted as the resistance the past few times. So this is the possibility where the margin for profit is for sure there, around 7 or 8%. So make sure you guys look at the margin for profit versus margin for risk, and then take your trades accordingly. So those are the few that I'm still looking at right now. Am I going to buy into JDST right now? I don't think so, because we're pretty close. Like, yes, it has time to go up, but I like to kind of buy it on the bottom at the bounce before. I don't want to buy in the middle, because what happens if it actually gets rejected, let's say by the 15 EMA line? Those are just some things to consider. But if you are in JDST, I think you're in a good position. So, one more thing. I think one of the comments wanted me to evaluate JCPenney. So JCPenney, we said that, what did we say? We said that the 150 SMA and the 200 SMA may act as the resistance, right? And we can see that when JCPenney went up, it bounced off, and then it was overextended yesterday once again. So today, what did we see? In fact, wow, we saw JCPenney go down 8.55%. So it got rejected by these SMA lines, and it started trending down. So what's the action now, right? So the action now is, we know that that's a solid resistance area, and that if we do see JCPenney pull back to the 20 EMA and then it starts kind of going down again, this is possibly the time to short sell JCPenney, right? Do the opposite, because it's trending back down, especially with this major sell-off today. We have 2 red bars going under the 20 EMA line. This is a pretty big confirmation that we might be in a downtrend now, temporarily. So we'll see how that plays out. But remember, if you guys are going to short sell JCPenney, wait for it to go off and get rejected by the 20 EMA and then coming down before potentially buying into JCPenney as a potential short sell. So guys, that's it for my analysis today. Like if you like this video. If you didn't like it, I hope you like it in the future, and I will see you tomorrow. I'm expecting some major moves tomorrow in the markets as well, or it might just start trickling up or trickling down. I mean, you guys can see, regardless, we can see a big volatility up and down, and you guys can play that volatility pretty well. So see you guys tomorrow, and thanks very much.